Gyfeillion, friends, my name is Nadine Marshall, and today it is my honour to be given the opportunity to speak to you as candidate for the South Wales Police and Crime Commissioner elections on the 6th of May 2021. Please allow me to share my story. 6 years ago, I was working full-time and a wife and mum to 3 incredible children. Life was hectic, noisy, and often disorganised. Despite this, I was enjoying my job as an educational coordinator, beginning to feel as though I was sometimes winning the daily battles of life. How wrong I was, how naive I was to believe that I was winning. That day, I discovered what pain really feels like. That pain has not diminished or left me. However, it has given me the determination to prevent the evil of crime and injustice from ever forcing its way and imposing itself onto any family. On the 8th of March, my birthday, I became a player in a game of no winners. My life took the most harrowing turn. On that day, my family was torn and traumatised beyond words. Being told that my son, my handsome son, had been attacked and injured in the most horrific way will haunt me forever. Medicinal care, wishes and prayers were not enough to save Connor. The brutality of the unprovoked attack had caused irreversible damage. From that day, I knew I would never accept that things happened for a reason. It's impossible to prepare for such trauma, yet the living nightmare was to worsen. Following a police investigation and subsequent murder trial and 2 inquests, we learnt the details of events that should never have happened. Discovering that the perpetrator was known to police and probation staff was staggering and unbelievable. A catalogue of events and missed opportunities had culminated in the death of Connor. Processes and procedures were not adhered to. Information sharing was insufficient, if at all. Nobody was willing to be truthful. The system allowed another murder of an innocent young man. I was not willing for Connor to be a crime statistic. I was not willing to be the one of the thousands of families affected by violent crime. For 4 years, I dedicated my life to ensuring justice for Connor. My work within the justice system has now ensured changes to the probation service management of offenders. Connor has been recognised as the reason for change and the reason for transparency. Policies and procedures are forever changed and will ensure that another family does not have to endure an arduous battle for answers. I'm standing for the role of Police and Crime Commissioner because I want a justice system that is inclusive, transparent and accountable. I believe that victims of any crime deserve understanding, support and compassion. Any crime has the potential to destroy the life of a victim and a victim's family. Taking this opportunity, I'd like to explain my priorities. Too often the catastrophic effects of living with crime are overlooked and undervalued. However, it's equally important that those that work within the policing system are recognised, appreciated and given sufficient training and support to enable the development and continuation of services and in turn the raising of public satisfaction. It's vital that any Police and Crime Commissioner has an honest and pragmatic relationship with the Chief Constable, ensuring the safety and security of both police and communities. Crime doesn't discriminate. The fact is, the effects of crime can damage and wreak havoc if not supported or identified adequately. I accept that the Police and Crime Commissioner alone cannot address or rectify every weakness within the criminal justice system. However, Commissioners are an integral voice in ensuring policing is engaging with communities and that the spending of funds allocated is proportionate and relevant to the very many communities across South Wales. Mental health is sadly an issue and experienced by many people, regardless of their position within the justice system. Poor mental health attacks professionals and perpetrators alike. Mental health and well-being remain a factor of everyday life, and at this time especially, we can all identify with the side effects of poor mental health and well-being. As Police and Crime Commissioner, I will work to advocate the importance of good mental health, recognising that too often the police are the first emergency service for people experiencing a mental health crisis. Support must be timely, relevant and local. Engaging with services that are easily accessible must be a priority, yet services remain underfunded and undervalued. Police personnel must be given support and understanding, remembering that they too face pressure and often unrealistic public expectation. I will prioritise this as the new Commissioner. An open, holistic approach to mental health and crime prevention is the key to safer communities and a better informed workforce. Supporting those that are suffering from mental health is vital. The Blue Lights programme is a good example of managing mental health, which I would mirror across South Wales. Understanding and recognising the impact of mental health and engaging with staff and communities must be a priority in 2021 and beyond. Partnership working must be encouraged to improve the ability to identify vulnerable and target services and support those in crisis. Support and guidance for those that may need it should be easily available. The content and quality of support must be specific to the needs of the individual. Simply doing the same thing the same way is not an option. Integrating and embedding the multi-agencies in crime prevention and crime reduction is key. Sharing good practice should be routine, and yet too often victims of crime are not recognised within current guidelines or procedures. Policing pressures now more than ever are fast changing and varied. Reaching expectations of what can be done and what is being done are not always at the same place at the same time. It's my intention to fully integrate and embed the work of social health and economic initiatives to finally allow those without a voice to be heard, and to be heard clearly. We each deserve to be respected, to be believed and to be shown compassion and dignity, regardless of gender, age, race or religion. Social justice must be a reality across South Wales. There's no place for discrimination or prejudice. It must be called out and recognised. It's vital that those affected by crime, including policing staff in our communities, can be heard without fear or reprisal, disbelief or ridicule. As your Police and Crime Commissioner, I will strive for a service that is accessible, efficient and effective. Community safety and policing must work together to reflect a changing world and the distinctive aspects of Welsh society. The challenges to all those that live and work across the communities of South Wales are as wide as its valleys and as many as its beaches. It's a fact that too many communities are blighted by low-level crime that has a very real and often unhealthy effect on our lives. Plaid Cymru pledges to implement the Victims' Code of Practice. This will safeguard the vulnerable and enhance victim support. Access and availability of support services must be possible to all that are suffering with mental health. Routine engagement with specialist providers and third sector organisations will develop a greater understanding and awareness of the impact and cost that crime has on an individual and wider community. Tackling hate crime, antisocial behaviour and safeguarding the vulnerable are daily challenges faced by all forces across Wales. I accept there isn't a magic formula that is going to eradicate crime. However, I do not accept that crime is the result of people not caring or not wanting something better. Victims of crime must have the confidence to come forward to report crimes, safe in the knowledge that they will be treated with respect and sympathy by a multicultural police service. Delivery of policing must mirror the cultural diversity of South Wales. We must embrace initiatives to recognise, understand and combat all forms of racism and bigotry in our streets, online and in our media. Ensuring sympathetic support services for victims of hate crime are easily accessible and available. Taking this into consideration, as Police and Crime Commissioner for South Wales, I will ask questions. I will listen to and look for solutions. I will always be honest and unbiased. I will be professional and determined in my work. I will strive for transparency and accountability across the force. If appropriate, I will scrutinise complaints to the Professional Standards Department concerning any crime. This is based on my passionate belief that a preventative approach to tackling crime addresses the many underlying causes of crime, protects children and safeguards the very most vulnerable within society. In a modern world, criminals and criminal activity is so sophisticated and often unseen. Exploitation and fraudulent methods of crime are progressing at a fast pace. Police forces must be adapting and implementing new technologies to minimise the possibilities of online abuse and cyber fraud. Investment in establishing economic crime units with investigative capacity for personal and business fraud, giving priority to cases affecting the most vulnerable. Campaigns, policing and initiatives to educate and promote self-protection from cybercrime are essential in an ever-increasing digital world. It is accepted that adverse childhood experiences can and do have a destructive impact on the individual. Indeed, the Welsh Adverse Childhood Experience study at Bangor University shows that those with 4 or more ACEs were 14 times more likely to have been a victim of violence over a 12-month period, 15 times more likely to have committed a violent crime, and 20 times more likely to be imprisoned during their lifetime. Collaborating with education, health, economic and criminal justice is a challenge for any policing area. Indeed, this is made more difficult due to the disparity in the national funding formula for Wales. I believe that capital city funding for Cardiff and Swansea should be made available, as it is to London, Edinburgh and Belfast. Understanding the differences and challenges between policing rural and urban areas is vital. We simply cannot expect to tackle issues that face communities in such different areas in a similar way. Debate and funding initiatives must be encouraged to tackle rising youth offending and antisocial behaviour. The need to address the underlying causes of crime are well documented. I strongly believe that a whole system approach like that used in Scotland would be beneficial to South Wales. This would have the effect of linking services and provide early intervention and support mechanisms to those who find themselves within the spiral of reoffending. Diverting children and young people from offending is more effective than relying on short custodial sentences that offer limited opportunities for rehabilitation and support. Plaid Cymru supports the decriminalisation of drugs. The current hardline approach criminalises citizens who may use drugs medicinally or recreationally without harming others. Criminalising those with an addiction is not supportive or beneficial in the long term. Decriminalisation does not legalise any drug. Instead, it changes the way in which we deal with minor drug possession. Rather, it treats users as potentially vulnerable rather than as criminals. Focusing on the number of people with dependency and addressing the underlying causes of misuse with initiatives such as Checkpoint Cymru are programmes that divert low-level offenders away from the criminal justice system. To close, Police and Crime Commissioners are the voice of the people in holding the police force to account, overseeing the delivery of efficient and effective services to reduce crime and reoffending. The strategic direction of the police force is a responsibility that requires integrity, skill and tenacity. As your South Wales Police and Crime Commissioner, I vow to be that voice, your voice. I cannot undo any wrongdoing, I cannot turn back time, but I will challenge injustice and connect communities to feel safe and be safe. Thank you. Diolch.